I have kids myself, so it's definitely tough to be cooking a meal or to be shuffling them from or chauffeuring them from practice to practice or from whatever activity. So thank you for taking a few minutes out of your day to spend some time with us as we go over some important information for you for this school year. And the second thing I want to thank you, I've been in education for 18 and a half, 19 years, and this is my first official year in a virtual setting. And something I've said to some staff members and students is it is tough being in virtual education. So to our parents and our teachers, I commend you for your work in coming in to work every day, coming to school every day, and giving your best. Your best is good enough, and we truly appreciate your support and appreciate your help. So bear with me as we go through tonight's agenda. As you can see, I'm going to present a little bit of an overview, and then we have our wonderful content administrators that are going to go over each of our content areas. And at the end, we'll have some times for question and answers. Couple ground rules: if you'd please keep mics off and hold your questions until the end. We will have a time at the end of everybody's presentation for questions and answers. And I'll be honest with you, we'll answer what we can. There might be some things that we have to get back with you on if we don't have those answers today. So again, thank you for coming out. And we're going to jump into an overview of our middle grades band. First, I want you to put some names with some emails and with some faces. Again, I am the proud principal here for the middle grades. We have assistant principals for content, math and science, Ms. Jessica Greer, ELA and social studies, Ms. Jamie Burke, our data and ops assistant principal, Jessica Teague, our instructional support service assistant principal, Dana Barrett, and our discipline and attendance assistant principal is Brian Daughtry. So take a look at those faces, take a look at those names. If you have questions or concerns in those areas, those are the people you need to reach out to. And as you can see beside them are some people we're going to hear from tonight, our content administrators, Dr. Christina Edwards, our ELA content administrator, Leslie Barton, our social studies administrator, Dr. Jolanda Harris for math, and Aaron Carr for science. So know those names. Again, those are people that you're going to reach out to in those content areas as needed. All right, this is the middle grade band. This is who we are. This is a picture of us when we got together in Athens for some professional development time. We have over 150 certified teachers. And no, I don't know all their names, and you probably don't know them either, but I can tell you I've had the opportunity to visit every classroom this first month of school, and we have some very passionate and very dedicated teachers. I am proud to be a part of this team. We have over 2,300 students, and that number is still growing as we are still enrolling in this school year. So if you have friends or family members that are interested, we are still enrolling. Please reach out to our wonderful people in the enrollment department, and you can find that information on the GCA website. So want to tell you what you can expect from us. These are some excellent, these are some information, these are things that we expect of ourselves here at middle grade bands. We expect to provide a quality curriculum, instruction, and assessment. We expect to provide a safe and secure learning environment. We expect to be constant communicators, effective communicators, and build strong relationships. And we expect to be professional. Those are our expectations that we have of ourselves that you should see from us. If you're not seeing that, we need to know. We hold ourselves to a standard. That's the standard that we want to meet. And we're going to provide quality communication. We're going to be consistent, and we're going to provide clarity. So those, again, are our expectations. If we ask that you help and support, if you're not seeing that, let us know. Moving along, some expectations for our students. We expect our students to be safe, to be on task, to have an awesome attitude, and to be responsible. This is our SOAR matrix that we use here. We support that through PBIS, which is positive behavior system. We want our kids to follow this guideline, to follow this matrix. So I'm not going to ask you to memorize it. We're not going to have a quiz over it, but your kids and your students should know this. They should know what the expectation is. They should know that we want them to have their camera on when possible. We want them to be attentive. We want them to be protective of their information. We want them to turn in assignments during the due date. We want them to work with their learning coaches. We want you to work with them. We want communication when there's an issue. If we don't know, we can't help. So this is our SOAR matrix. We would use a program at middle grade band called Classcraft to help support this matrix, to help support our student engagement. We want students to be engaged. We want them to be on camera, to be on task, to not have a wait time. So we use this program, Classcraft, to support that. Please be on the lookout. We have some PBIS postcards coming out. We're going to be recognizing some students that are doing a good job of following this matrix with our Student of the Month program. We'll also have some club programs coming up that'll support this. And all of that, be on the lookout for that later this month and into October. With those expectations, our expectations that we have as a faculty and staff, and the expectations that we have as for our students, these are the goals that we hope to reach this school year. And there are three targeted areas. Our first, again, goes back to that SOAR matrix, goes back to student engagement. We want our students engaged. We want them to be on camera. We want them to have a smaller step-away account. We want them in their classroom settings, chatting with their teachers, asking questions, being actively engaged, and a willing participant in the learning experience. We want our student achievement to increase. So you can see there we have different assessments throughout the year that we want our students to succeed in. And IA are interim assessments. And then, of course, at the end of the year, our Georgia milestones. And then we want to increase students' learning levels. If a student has come in to GCA or continued in GCA at a certain level, we want to see their increase. We want them to gain achievement, gain academic knowledge throughout the course of the year. So those are our goals, expectations for staff, expectations for students, expectations for learning coaches, and this is the end game. This is by following those expectations and holding ourselves to those standards, we hope to meet these goals. So that's enough from me for right now. I'll hop back in later. Now we're going to get into some content specific. We're going to get into each specific content area and speak in some highlights on them. If you have a question, again, remember, please hold those until the end because we will have some question and answer time. So I'm going to hop off. First content that we're going to talk about today is language arts, and I'm going to hand that over to Dr. Christina Edwards.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome. I am Dr. Christina Edwards. I am the administrator for the English Language Arts Department. If you look at the screen, you see the Georgia Standards of Excellence for ELA. If you look at 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, they're common topics. Students learn textual evidence in 6th grade, 7th grade, and also 8th grade. But of course, the complexity is there with each grade level. So as students advance through the 6th through 8th grades, they are expected to meet each year's grade specific standards. The 6th through 8th standards are organized into 4 strands. Those are reading, writing, speaking, and listening, and those are embedded inside of those standards and what teachers are doing inside of the classroom. If you look at some of the novels that we're reading for this year, for 6th grade, The Great Fire, Freak the Mighty, and Bud Not Buddy. For 7th grade, we see The Blue Dolphins, we see Chasing Lincoln's Killer and Diary of a Young Girl, and also for 8th grade, Call of the Wild, The Outsiders, and Animal Farm. So what we do is the skills are incorporated. We use our novels and we teach those skills through those novels. So we always want students to be engaged, as Mr. Wilkinson said, be engaged in learning, be active and participants in their learning at all times. So for parent involvement, what could you do to help us make sure that students are successful. First of all, we have several apps that we use inside of the classroom. US Test Prep, Brain Pop, Vocabulary. Students are very familiar with these. So if you mention it, they're not going to say, I've never heard it before, because we are definitely embedding them inside of the classroom. So encourage independent reading. We always know the students who like to read, they read. But if students say they don't like to read, those are usually the ones who don't read. So what could you do to help that? Ask students about what are their interests. Ask them, what are you reading in class? And then a lot of times you can set up times to read with the students at home, outside of the classroom, where you're asking questions such as, tell me about the setting of the book you're reading, of the story. Tell me about the character. So ask questions about what students are reading. Provide options for writing. Encourage free writing at home. Also, be a strong model for reading. It's easy to say, well, go read a book. But if students are seeing you reading in your spare time, and they may be, more likely to pick up a book and read as well. So we always want you to get involved. Even the platforms, there are some platforms, for example, IXL, where students can just be working on some things on their own, maybe 30 minutes a day, just work on some of those skills, and just assess themselves, let them self-assess to see how they are doing. And also, I know you've heard from a lot of your teachers when we did our ILP, our welcome calls, and you set goals. So even the goals that students have set for reading, hold them accountable. Let them know, well, we made these goals, and this is what we really want you to do from home and school. I'm not going to read the team, but this is our list of sixth grade teachers. Take a screenshot. You've probably met some of these teachers already through phone calls when we did our goal setting. So meet our sixth grade team. And then we have our seventh grade team. And so if you have some students in seventh grade, you have some of these are their teachers. So take a screenshot so you can know that you reach out to them. I'm sure some of them you've heard from them already. And then we have our wonderful eighth grade team who kind of seals the deal, because we know after them, the students are transitioning to high school. So this is for the ELA department. Once again, I'm Dr. Christina Edwards, ELA administrator. And I pass it on to Dr. Harris.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Dr. Jolanda Harris. I am the middle grade band math administrator. And what you see before you is the Georgia Standards of Excellence for Math. As stated before, make sure that you take a snapshot of this. Of course, our standards have been kind of, I would say, kind of changed a little bit, the order in which we'll be teaching them for next year, but every students are still held accountable for these particular topics, just maybe in a different uh, um, strand or a different grade level, but everyone would still be responsible for these particular topics. So also, I want to make sure that you understand that in math, the standards build on prior years. So, as in sixth grade, when we're talking about number system fluency, just make sure that you're asking your student, I should say, just kind of review what they're learning. Have them teach you a problem. Share with them a real life situation. Allow them to share real life situations when it comes to math with you. In their classrooms, that's what the teachers are doing. They're trying to let them know math is just not a topic that you talk about in a classroom setting. It's real world. And we want our students to be prepared for just that, the real world. So just make sure you take a snapshot of the standards for sixth, seventh, and eighth, and know that it's important for them to master those standards and topics in sixth grade so that they can be very successful in seventh and eighth grade. Next slide. will be parent involvement. Clever apps and resources. Here's a list of a few of the resources that we will be using in the classroom with your student. One of the ones that I want to just highlight is Desmos. It's a wonderful opportunity for teachers to actually see the work that your student is doing in class. So if they're just writing an answer down, that teacher can see it right away and say, "Hey, can you explain that to me?" And I think that helps teachers. If you're a true math teacher, you're used to seeing that paper and pencil, and Desmos gives you that feeling because you can actually see what the student is writing down, and you can determine whether or not they have mastered the content or even if they can explain it to you. So it gives you just a peek into what they're actually thinking and their process. Khan Academy is an awesome resource that you can use at home. And that's something that every grade level, whether you're in sixth, seventh, or eighth, they break down every topics. There are videos that you can look at and take a moment to look at with your student and go through and work out some of those problems that they're introducing. And as I stated before, math is real world. Okay, it's everywhere. Whether you're talking about translations, reflections, or whether or not you're looking for the percentage of a discount. And we love those discounts, don't we? Well, when I encourage you, when you go into restaurants, stores, and if there's a percentage off, allow your student to calculate the percentage off or the taxes for a particular item. Or when you're at dinner, determine what the tip will be. These are all things that will assist them in realizing and taking it serious that math truly is everywhere. Okay. And finally, that last little bullet point, cluster math problems. When your student is at home and you see that they're sweating the small stuff, and I mean it just like that they're sweating the small stuff, just make sure that you assist them in being able to manage it. And by managing, I mean maybe breaking it up into bits and pieces, chunking it. Okay. That's the magic word, chunk it. So if they can chunk it up into little bits and pieces, and then finally put the whole thing together, it's not as overwhelming. And I'm talking from experience from as a math teacher for I have a child that did not appreciate math, and but he understood at an early age that math was all around him. But it worked out better when we learned how to chunk it. So I think that would be an excellent opportunity. It's not just for those who struggle with math. That's a great way to introduce a topic in your household as well. Next, I have a list of the sensational sixth grade teachers here at GCA and take a snapshot. As Dr. Edwards stated, you probably heard from all of our math teachers, homeroom teachers, that during they were doing their calls and welcoming your child back to school and just kind of going through some of the expectations and goals with them. So here's our sensational sixth grade team. Next, we have our stupendous seventh grade math teachers, and they are doing a wonderful job as holding it down for that middle school student, and which can be a very difficult year because we're taking a lot of that elementary math and some of that sixth grade stuff and just mashing it all together and preparing them to move on to eighth grade and be successful. And finally, but definitely not least, our energized eighth grade teachers are ready to get these students prepared to move on to high school. They have their work cut out for them. And I will tell you, it's a lot more demanding than sixth grade math, but it's well worth it. When you put the time in eighth grade, it makes ninth grade a lot easier. So I encourage you to, if you have an eighth grader, Just make sure they're putting in the time, the hours. Don't let them feel defeated and don't let them get overwhelmed. Ask for help. And I say that in all the math classes, ask for help, because that's what we're here to do. And that's to make sure that they are prepared to move on to the next level and grow to love math and not dread going into that math class. So please make sure you reach out to your teachers as well as myself if you have any questions or concerns, and we'll be more than happy to assist. And next, I will be moving it on to, I think, science. Oh, sorry, social studies.
Great. Hi, everybody. How are you? My name is Leslie Barton, and I am the Social Studies Middle Grade Band Administrator. Um, so just to give you a little overview of what social studies is like in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. In 6th grade, there's a lot of topics to cover, starting with Latin America, going to Canada, Europe, Australia. They are going to cover some geography there as far as physical and human geography. We will talk about government and civics of these particular areas and countries. Some economics thrown in there, as we do every year, and then history. The majority of the events that we're going to cover in 6th grade are between the 20th and 21st centuries. So that's our 6th grade. 7th grade is going to cover topics such as Africa, Asia, Southwest, and Southeast, geography as far as physical and human geography in these areas, some government and civics for these areas, economics as well, and then some significant events in each region from the 20th and 21st centuries. Now, 8th grade takes a little bit of a different take. They're not talking about the world. We're moving it into Georgia. So your 8th grade student will learn topics in Georgia history, geography of Georgia, the history of Georgia and how it came to be, the government of Georgia, our economy here, and historical events are included. Things that relate specifically to Georgia and Georgia's role in the history of the United States. So that's just a little overview of what your student will learn in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade social studies. Parent involvement for social studies. We are called social studies for a reason, right? We want to talk about all those things that happen in our world around us and how we're affected by that. So some things that you can do as a parent to help your student with social studies. First, you want to integrate social studies into life outside of school. If you have opportunities, take your kids to a museum. There are some that you can go to in real life, and there are some that you can attend virtually as well. Talk about some current events. If you watch the news with them. I know the news is kind of depressing sometimes, but there are ways that you can listen to what's going on in the world around them. Talk about those things. Explore your city and your state. I taught Georgia studies before becoming an administrator, and one of my favorite things to do was ask the class, where have you been in Georgia? What's your favorite place? The students love to discuss real world things in class and where they've been and share their experiences with other students. Having experiences with your kids, whether that be a historical experience or going to a museum or just going to a historical site, those are memories that they can keep with them forever. So, good idea to take your kids around to things in your community. The other thing that you can do, um, we can't possibly, as a school, celebrate or cover every single holiday or important day that there is during the year. So think about the holidays that are coming up that are important to you, that are important to your family, that are, affect the world around you or the community. Figure out what the meanings of those holidays are, why they're celebrated. So many holidays that we have, people don't even really realize what the true meaning of them are or how they relate to our current world. So that's an idea for you. The other things that is really important in today's society, I think, is that for you to discuss topics that you see with your students. Talk about their role in civil rights, their responsibilities as a member of their community. Ask what they think about political and social and economic matters. Um, there is so much going on in the world today that our students can learn from. I mean, to me, like the past 5 years have been just full of historical events that are happening right before our eyes. So there's plenty of things for the students to take in and learn about as you kind of just go about your daily life. You can listen and ask questions that lead to a discussion. Sometimes at the dinner table, I'll do this with my own kids. Hey, did you hear about what's going on here? What do y'all think about that? And I always encourage my kids in the class to ask their parents about things that were going on that they saw that they didn't understand. History has plays a big role for students anyway of how your family views history, your ancestors, all that kind of thing. So you can help fill in some of those gaps for your student um, and help them understand um, social studies better. Over on the right side, you will see some of our apps and resources that we use for social studies. The main one that you're going to see, and you've probably already heard your student talk about, is Gallopade. That is our curriculum and our textbook that we use. Your student will spend a lot of time in there. The other ones that we will use throughout the year are Progress Learning, IXL, our Discovery Ed, Study Island, Brain Pop, Vocabulary, and Newsella. Now, Newsella is one that you've probably seen already in social studies, but we use it, I mean, in English, we use it in social studies as well to incorporate reading into our social studies curriculum. Just a really quick overview of our sixth grade social studies team. Your student should know which one of these teachers is theirs. If you have any questions for your social studies teacher, please feel free to reach out to them. Their names are listed here for sixth grade. Seventh grade teachers are listed here. Same thing, please reach out to them if you have any questions. They'll be glad to answer. And we have a great group in seventh grade as well. And then finally, our eighth grade team. Same applies there. If you have any questions about your eighth grade student in social studies, please reach out to their social studies teacher and we will be glad to answer any of the questions that you have. All right, I think that is it for me. Again, my name is Leslie Barton and I'm the middle grade social studies administrator. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Aaron Carr, and he is our science administrator.
Good evening. Hope everybody's well today. My name is Aaron Carr. I'm the science administrator here for the GCA Middle School. And let me tell you some stuff about science today. So, the way that ELA and math are set up, it's more of a sequential, you learn a little bit extra on the subject as you go along. And then social studies and science are a little different, where each grade level is its own specific thing. So, in sixth grade, we have earth science. And as I'm talking about this, you can check out some of the subtopics underneath here. But like I said, sixth grade is our earth science year. Seventh grade, we move into life science. And then eighth grade, we talk about physical science. So there's a lot of cool stuff that the kids will learn about that. In sixth grade right now, we are working in the solar system and talking about some of those things. Right now in seventh grade, we are discussing cells and the molecules, the building blocks of life. And then eighth grade, they are talking about states of matter and things are going really well right now in science. So it's been fun joining classes myself and seeing everything going on with them. So take a quick look there and you can see some of the other subtopics that we discuss. And as we move along, a lot of these programs that we use are going to be the same ones that we use in other contests, but we do have one that's not up there that we just added, like probably this month. It's a program called Boom Cards. It's a vocabulary focus. So you might see some teachers start implementing those. I know some have already done that, especially some of the seventh grade teachers. Um, so they'll be implementing those a little bit in class. And like I said, it's just a vocab resource, something good to help the kids with vocab, which is a main focus for all classes, all contents throughout the school this year. So, a couple things that you can do to be helpful and an involved parent with the science department, and not just science, but all contents, really being involved in the class and checking out what we got going on in the specific science classes. Each day, your student should have a daily agenda of exactly what they need to do for every class listed. And if you go to the calendar and go to the agenda view, it will be nice and orderly. It'll have the weekly to-do list at the top of the page, and then any assignments that might be due that day a little further down. And in each one of those modules that we have, each teacher will set up what graded assignments are due that specific day. So that's a great resource for you to check pretty often to make sure your students are getting their work done and getting it done on time. Every day that work is late, you do receive some points off. So you want to have stuff turned in on time or early. Very important. Other things that you can do just around the state and around your city, there's a lot of zoos, aquariums, parks, and other cool things to visit. We've got a lot of, I guess this might relate to social studies a little bit, but there's a lot of cool features throughout the state. We've got mountains in North Georgia. We've got the beach in uh, the Golden Isles. We've got the swamps in the Okefenokee. There's a lot of cool places in Georgia that are cool to see for science stuff. So things that you can do to do a little researching on the rocks, bugs, animals, all those other things that you might see. Another thing that's been a big focus this year for our classes is to be more uh, demonstrative. I don't know if that's a word I'm trying to look, but we've been doing a lot better job of like showing demonstrations, experiments, and cool things like that in class. And we're doing those things in class, but you can do a lot of stuff at home as well. I know some classes, depending on what they're doing at the time of the year, they will do little experiments that you can join in with at home. And a lot of times those are very basic. It's probably some stuff that you might already have around the house, or it's stuff that you could probably get from the Dollar General or Dollar Store or something like that on the cheap. So try those experiments at home, and even little things like making food, combining different things, types of matter, just anything that we do in the world around us, you're going to find a lot of science if you look around. It's pretty cool. Here's our sixth grade science team, and just like the other people, I'm not just going to read all these out to you, but you can take a quick look. And this is our sixth grade earth science teachers. Glad to have them here today. They are wonderful. Our seventh grade life science teacher. This is our teaching team for seventh grade life science. Once again, just like all these other folks that we've seen today, excellent, tremendous, great teachers here at GCA. And finally, we've got our eighth grade physical science teachers, just like the others. Love having them. So that is going to wrap it up for science today, and I'm going to shoot us on over to electives.
Hello, everybody. I am here to introduce our fabulous electives that we have at GCA. We have 2 required electives, and that's going to be PE Health and then Computer Science. So all of your students will be in PE Health and Computer Science. And in PE and Health, they discuss nutrition, stress management, peer pressure. PE, we go over fitness, wellness, and planning. And then we have our computer science, which is a range of different things as we're building on it each year. Sixth grade, we got keyboarding, some digital tools and citizenship, working on those internet tools and starting to do some coding. In seventh grade, we are looking at Google tools for school success. Internet safety, how those computers work, and then coding again and problem solving. And then in eighth grade, we're talking about cybersecurity, digital tools, animation, and then doing some coding specifically in Blockly. And then we have our optional electives. This means your students do not have to take these classes, but they can opt into these classes. And those are art, Spanish, and writing fun. In art, the sixth graders are looking at the elements and principles of 2D art. The seventh graders are looking at the principles of art, like in more detail, using a variety of mediums or art materials. And then in eighth grade, we're talking about photography and just composition in general in art. We have our Spanish class, which we're talking about basic Spanish conversation, including introductions, alphabet, days of the week, months, describing oneself, talking about the school day, and then just talking about Spanish speaking culture. And last but not least, we have writing fun, which is a class that encourages creativity, self-expression, and imagination through writing. And I can vouch for every single one of these teachers that they are absolutely fantastic. So we've got our PE department, our computer science department, and then we've got our little islands of art, Spanish, and writing fun. And I will go ahead and pass it on over to important information in the counseling department.
Thank you, Ms. Counts. I'm taking over from here. First off, I heard a lot, and I want to thank all of our admins and Ms. Counts for delivering that information. Parents, don't stress out too much about getting all that information. This is recorded, So you'll be able to, we'll send it out. If you wanted to take a screenshot, you'll be able to do that in the recording. And all the contact information can be found on the website. But I have a few more slides, so just bear with us as we try to wrap things up. I wanted to put a couple other contact information out. If you have a academic concern, academic planning concern, social, emotional support concern, that's what our counselors are for. And I wanted to put their names up there. And if you have a counseling concern, please reach out to them. They are more than willing to help. Of course, if you have an academic concern, we want your first line of contact, first line of communication to be that teacher. So make sure you know those content teachers. If you have school-related questions that aren't really counseling, aren't really academic, we ask that you go to your FELs first and then your attendance specialist with any attendance questions. So again, and if you don't know those people, please reach out to get those names. All right, we're going to talk again. We've heard a lot about how you can help. So I just wanted to put this blurb on there. Check for students, check your Canvas calendar each morning. And parents, this is a way for you to monitor what your students are doing. In middle school, we hope and we assist them in becoming independent learners. So our students should be able to get into the routine of checking that daily agenda, like Mr. Carr said, and getting into their Canvas and getting into the routine without prompts from their teachers or without prompts from you. This is an expectation that we hope these students in middle grades can get to. Next thing I want to touch base on is our assessments. And I'm asking for your help, parents, because we have several assessments that are very important for us here at. Okay. I just had a blurb. We have a couple parents that are having some issues, so don't worry, we're recording. So if you can't log in, we will get that recording out to you. So parents, I want you to make note of our different assessments. We just finished iReady. I'm gonna get into that a little bit, but of course we have our milestones, we have our MAP testing, and we have our interim assessments. We also have in between our interim assessments, teacher-led checkpoint assessments. So we have a lot of assessments here, and we need your help in making sure students are prepared and ready for these assessments. These tests not only help us to see where the student's at, but it's also a guide for your teachers to create individualized learning plans for each student. And just a reminder for our students, when we have an assessment, the expectation is we are on camera and we are present for those assessments. So again, parents, take notes. Our next one coming up is our interim assessment, which will be at the end of the month. Want to talk a little bit about iReady. We just finished up our iReady diagnostics. So thank you for those students that were able to get that done. GCA uses this in math and reading. We take a diagnostic. In that diagnostic, it gives us valuable information of where students are at and how we at GCA, our teachers, our admins can help students reach their goals and to reach our overall school goals in math and reading. And we also use that in support in other classes as well. So I'll jump in and tell you a little bit what I mean by that. If you can see, here's a little sample of what iReady looks like. When they do that diagnostic, it gives us some valuable data. And these are just some sample ones for, so for instance, reading here, we can see that this particular student tested out is doing very well in a couple of reading contents. However, they're performing low in vocabulary, and comprehension is even lower than that. So this gives our teachers information to help them design instruction and to help design lessons for our students. So that's why it was very important that all of our students took the iReady diagnostic. So they wasn't just a grade. It wasn't just, hey, we want to take this test to give a grade. It was, we want them to take this test so we have that information moving forward and we can target areas for our students to help them grow. So thank you again for your support in iReady. And all of the assessments that we do have a piece similar to this. Again, we don't just do them to do them. We do them to get information about students to help teachers in guiding students where they need to be. So again, you'll start seeing some iReady assignments coming up. based off of where those students were at in the diagnostic. So that was the purpose for us for taking that assessment. So we're at the part that everybody loves, the ending. So before we leave, the attendance link has been shared a few different times in the chat. Make sure you click on it. Make sure you tell us how we did first off, but also tell us that you were a part of tonight's presentation. Before we get into question and answers, I wanted to just say thank you to first Sonia Welch, our middle grade band family school partnership coordinator, for putting this together for us. She is the one that sends out the information for us to families. She's a big help here, so thank you, Sonia. I want to thank our APs, our assistant principals, our content administrator, Ms. Counts from Electives, for being a part of tonight and for lending their voice. And I want to thank all of our teachers and all of our staff for what they do every single day, day in and day out. And like I said at the beginning of tonight, virtual education is hard. And I appreciate everything our staff does. I appreciate what our parents do. And I appreciate what our students do. So we have concluded. We are going to stay on for a few minutes. I'm going to ask my content admins and my APs to stay on. So if you have a question that is relevant to the group, please type it in the chat box. If not, you are free to go and enjoy your evening and enjoy the long weekend. So thanks again for joining us a few hours before your long Labor Day weekend started. Remember, no school tomorrow and no school on Monday. So we'll be in the chat for a few minutes. If there's any questions or concerns, we will get those answered to the best of our ability. Like I said before, there are going to be some questions that we can't answer that we'll have to get back to you on. Thank you. The iReady assignments will be located in the student's MyPath, but the teachers will explain that to them once those start getting assigned. All right, thank you for our teachers for hopping in and answering these questions. If we don't answer your question, again, just stick around, ask it again, because we got a lot of questions coming up in the chat. We're going to try to get these done as soon as possible, or we're going to try to get all your questions answers. Best way to find out mission assignments, Canvas. Going into Canvas, you should see missing in their grades. And if you have, again, a question about that, please reach out to the teacher. No school this Friday. That's it's a fall break, so they typically schedule an extra day either before the break or after the before Labor Day or after Labor Day. That's very typical. I see having issues with Clever and Canvas login. There is a way to send a ticket, a technology ticket. Yep, submit a student help ticket. If you don't know how to do that, just reach out to one of your teachers, the homeroom teacher, any of the teachers. They'll know that. Me, FEL, send it to them, and they'll be able to give you that link to how to submit a ticket. And that's for any kind of tech issues. Thank you. You enjoy your weekend as well. Again, I see different people hopping in the chat to answer questions. If your question is not getting answered, just be patient. You might have to resubmit it so we can hop in and answer. counted present for this meeting, we'll drop that link back in there again. There's the attendance link again. We're popping it in there a few different times. Make sure you click on that so we can recognize your attendance. I see the missing assignments question. Again, Canvas is the best way. And if you need help navigating that, again, reach out to your FEL. How can you review this recording? We will, I believe they send it out where they post it on the family engagement calendar. Yep, Miss Welch said I was correct. I did good. Thank you. Again, the couple people haven't received welcome calls. You can reach out to any of the administrators, and we can get in touch with that homeroom teacher. Or again, you can reach out to your FEL. Yep, there we go. Ms. Burke dropped that in. See, the social studies books question has come up a couple of times. 3 weeks after your start date. Thank you. Again, we're going to stick around for a few more minutes, but if you do not have any questions, thank you again for showing up. And again, as always, you can reach out to your teacher. You can reach out to anybody you need to reach out to specifically if there's a specific question that's not related to any of the information we talked about tonight. Thank you. You too. And Beth, our assistant principal, Brian Daughtry, is putting his email in the chat. You can email him with your specific question. Thank you. Have a good weekend. Thank you. Be safe, everybody. All right, I'm not seeing any more questions, so I think we are going to call it a night. Thank you again to all of our teachers and assistant principals. Thank you so much for the kind words. Everybody enjoy the long weekend, get plenty of rest, and we'll see people back on Tuesday.
Please stop the recording.